My name is Natalie Martinez, a 38-year-old business owner who just spent $5,000 on a family reunion dinner no one invited me to. All my life, I've been the forgotten middle child, desperately trying to win my family's approval. When I arrived at the restaurant last Friday, the place was empty. Mom laughed when I called, saying, "It was yesterday. We saved you leftovers." I said nothing. But the next morning, the police showed up at their door. Want to know why revenge was my only option? Let me know where you're watching from, hit that like button, and subscribe as I reveal how my family's betrayal led to their downfall. Growing up with Teresa and Robert Martinez wasn't what you'd call a nurturing childhood. From my earliest memories, I was the forgotten middle child, sandwiched between my older sister Monica and younger brother Tyler. Monica was the golden child who could do no wrong. Her straight A's, perfect attendance, and later her prestigious college scholarship made her the pride of our parents. Tyler, 5 years younger than me, was the baby of the family, coddled and protected from any responsibility or consequences. Then there was me, Natalie, the middle child, invisible unless I made a mistake. I still remember my 10th birthday, when my parents simply forgot. Not rescheduled, not postponed, forgot entirely. I sat at the kitchen table that evening, watching the clock tick past 6, then 7, then 8 o'clock. Mom was busy helping Monica prepare for a debate competition, and Dad was teaching Tyler to ride his new bike. When I finally asked about my birthday cake, Mom looked startled, then dismissive. "Oh, we'll do something next weekend," she said, never looking up from Monica's note cards. We never did. That pattern continued through my childhood. My 8th grade graduation ceremony, they arrived late and left early for Tyler's t-ball game. My high school academic awards, they skipped it entirely because Monica had a college interview the same day. My first art show in senior year, they promised to come, but didn't because Tyler had a cold. I left home at 18, determined to build my own life. With nothing but a duffel bag of clothes and $200 saved from my part-time job at the local grocery store, I moved 2 states away and started over. Those first years were brutally hard. I worked 3 jobs simultaneously: morning shifts at a bakery, afternoon receptionist at a small office, and weekend retail. I lived in a tiny studio apartment with secondhand furniture and counted every penny. Somehow, between shifts, I managed to attend community college classes, eventually earning an associate degree in business. That small credential helped me land an entry-level position at a technology company, where I discovered my talent for connecting clients with technical solutions. I worked my way up from administrative assistant to account coordinator to project manager. By 30, I had enough experience and industry connections to start my own technology consulting firm. The first 2 years were touch and go, with many sleepless nights wondering if I'd made a terrible mistake. But by year 3, Martinez Technology Solutions had turned the corner. Now, 15 years after leaving home, I employ 27 people and serve clients across 3 states. During those 15 years, my contact with family was minimal: Christmas cards, occasional birthday calls, and maybe a brief visit every couple of years. I never discussed my growing business success, partly because they never asked, and partly because I'd learned not to seek their approval. The only family member who ever showed genuine interest in my life was my grandmother Eleanor, my father's mother. She would call me once a month just to chat, send thoughtful birthday gifts, and visited me twice a year. When I opened my first real office, she took a bus across 2 states to attend the small celebration, while the rest of my family didn't even acknowledge the milestone. Grandma Eleanor passed away 8 months ago at 92. The funeral brought us all together for the first time in years. I was genuinely grieving the only family member who had consistently loved me, while simultaneously navigating the awkward small talk with relatives who were essentially strangers. A month after the funeral, the family was notified that Grandma had left specific bequests in her will. To my complete surprise, she had left me her prized heirloom diamond ring, a beautiful antique piece that had been in the family for generations. It was traditionally passed to the eldest daughter, which would have been my mother, or the eldest granddaughter, which would have been Monica. She must have made a mistake, my mother said coldly when the lawyer read the will. Natalie barely knew her. The lawyer, a firm elderly man named Mr. Winters, adjusted his glasses. Mrs. Martinez was of sound mind and was quite specific about this bequest. She left a letter explaining that Natalie was the only grandchild who regularly kept in touch with her during her final years. I saw the flash of anger in my mother's eyes, the tightening of Monica's lips. Even Tyler looked surprised, though less offended. The ring wasn't particularly valuable in monetary terms, maybe worth a few $1,000s, but its sentimental and family significance made it priceless. Within 2 weeks of the will reading, my mother started calling me. At first, I was suspicious of her sudden interest, but part of me, that little girl still seeking parental approval, was hopeful. Maybe Grandma's passing had made her realize life was short and family connections matter. Our conversations started awkwardly, but became more natural over time. Mom asked about my life, my work, even my friends. I shared carefully edited versions of my success, downplaying the financial aspects. But somehow, through pointed questions and conversations with extended family, she pieced together that I was doing very well financially. That's when the subtle manipulation began. Comments about Tyler's struggle to find a good-paying job after being laid off. Mentions of Monica's children needing braces their insurance wouldn't cover. Reminiscing about their upcoming 40th wedding anniversary and how they'd never been able to afford a proper celebration. I recognized the tactics, but still found myself vulnerable to them. After years of emotional neglect, even manipulative attention felt like connection. Before I knew it, I had paid for Tyler's professional certification course, contributed to my niece's orthodontic work, and offered to host a modest anniversary dinner for my parents. Each gift was met with effusive gratitude that quickly faded, followed by another need, another crisis, another opportunity for me to help out the family. I knew what was happening, but that child inside me hoping for acceptance kept overriding my adult business sense. It was early April when Mom called with her grand idea. "Natalie, I've been thinking," she began, her voice warm with enthusiasm I rarely heard directed at me. "It's been so wonderful reconnecting with you these past few months. Why don't we have a proper family reunion? Everyone together, celebrating being a family?" The idea was appealing. Despite everything, I wanted to believe we could create a new chapter in our family story. "That sounds nice, Mom. What were you thinking?" "Well," she continued, "nothing too fancy. Maybe a dinner somewhere. Tyler's birthday is coming up in May, so we could combine it with that. The problem is venues are so expensive these days." I knew where this was heading but played along. "I could help with that. I know some nice restaurants in the city." "Oh, Natalie." Her voice rose with delight. "That would be wonderful, but we couldn't ask you to do that." But of course, they could and they did. By the end of the conversation, I had volunteered to organize and fund an elaborate family reunion dinner at one of the most exclusive restaurants in the city, the Silver Palm. I would handle all the details, and my mother would coordinate with family members to ensure everyone could attend. Over the next 3 weeks, I threw myself into the planning process. I reserved a private dining room at the Silver Palm for Friday, May 12th at 7 p.m. I worked with their executive chef to create a special menu featuring everyone's favorites: Tyler's beloved ribeye steak, Monica's preference for seafood, Dad's traditional Italian pasta, Mom's favorite chocolate desserts. I arranged for a professional photographer to capture the evening, ordered custom place settings with each person's name elegantly scripted, and even commissioned a multi-tiered cake celebrating our family's heritage. I was determined to make this reunion perfect. For once, I wanted to be seen as more than the forgotten middle child. I wanted them to see me as successful, generous, someone who belonged in the family circle. The excitement grew within me as the plans came together. Hope blossomed, a dangerous emotion for someone with my family history, but I couldn't help it. Every few days, I confirmed details with my mother. "Yes, May 12th works for everyone," she assured me repeatedly. "Everyone's so excited." I called Monica once to verify she knew the date. "Of course," she said shortly. "Mom's told us all about it." The week before the dinner, I called the restaurant 3 times to confirm every detail. I arranged for champagne to be waiting when everyone arrived, selected flower arrangements for the table, and even prepared small gift bags for each family member. Personalized items I thought would show how well I knew and cared for them, despite our distance. The day of the reunion arrived. I spent the morning at a spa, getting my hair and nails done. I wanted to look my best, to embody the success I had achieved on my own. I chose a navy blue cocktail dress that was elegant without being flashy, paired with the pearl earrings Grandma Eleanor had given me for my 30th birthday. I felt beautiful, confident, and hopeful as I gathered the bouquet of flowers I had purchased to bring to the dinner. I arrived at the Silver Palm at 6:30 p.m., wanting to be there before anyone else to make sure everything was perfect. The manager, Bradley, greeted me warmly. "Ms. Martinez, everything is ready in the Magnolia Room as you requested. The champagne is chilling, and the chef has prepared all the special menu items." "Thank you, Bradley. My family should be arriving soon. Could you direct them to the room when they get here?" "Of course." I entered the beautifully appointed private dining room. The table was set for 12, my parents, Monica and her husband, and 2 children, Tyler and his girlfriend, 2 of my father's brothers and their wives. Everything looked perfect, the gleaming silverware, the crystal glasses, the delicate flower arrangements, the personalized place cards. I placed my small gift bags at each person's seat and settled into wait. By 7:15 p.m., no one had arrived. I wasn't particularly concerned. My family had always run on Martinez time, which meant 15 to 30 minutes late for everything. I sipped a glass of water and checked my phone for messages. Nothing. At 7:30 p.m., I texted my mother. "Are you on your way?" "Everything's ready." No response. By 7:45 p.m., I called her. The call went straight to voicemail. I tried my father, then Monica, then Tyler. No answers. At 8 p.m., Bradley approached me discreetly. "Ms. Martinez, would you like to begin serving, or are we still waiting for your guests?" "Let's wait a bit longer," I said, embarrassment beginning to creep in. They must be running late. By 8:30 p.m., I had called everyone multiple times with no response. A knot formed in my stomach, a familiar feeling from childhood, the sensation of being forgotten, overlooked, left out. But this was different. This was an event I had organized and paid for. They couldn't have forgotten. At 9 p.m., my phone finally rang. It was my mother. "Mom, where is everyone? We were supposed to start dinner an hour ago." There was a pause, then a light laugh that sent chills down my spine. "Oh, Natalie. The dinner was yesterday. Thursday the 11th, didn't you get my message?" My mind went blank. "What? No. We agreed on Friday the 12th. I've confirmed it multiple times with you." "Well, there must have been a misunderstanding. We all met yesterday. It was lovely, though the service was a bit confused when you didn't show up to pay. Don't worry, we put it on your credit card on file." Tyler was a bit put out that you missed his birthday celebration. I stood in the empty dining room, surrounded by perfect place settings for people who had no intention of joining me. "That's not possible. I made the reservation for tonight, the 12th. "Well, we're all at home now. If you want to come by, I think there are some leftovers in the fridge we could heat up for you." Leftovers. As if I were an afterthought, a stray cat to be fed with scraps. The shock of my mother's words left me temporarily speechless. I gripped my phone tightly, trying to process what she was saying. "There's no misunderstanding," I finally managed to say. "I made the reservation for tonight, Friday the 12th. I confirmed it with you multiple times." "Well, I tried to call you yesterday to let you know we were changing it," she replied, her tone dismissive. "Everyone else got the message. It's not our fault if you didn't check your phone." I pulled the phone away from my ear and checked my call history and texts. Nothing from her in the past week except a message asking if I could add lobster to the menu because Monica's husband had been craving it. "Mom, you never called me about changing the date." "Not once." "Of course I did, Natalie. Why would I lie about that? Anyway, it's done now." Everyone had a wonderful time. Tyler was so touched by the cake. The cake I had specially ordered. The cake I hadn't even seen. "I need to go. I said quietly and ended the call. Bradley approached me again, concern evident on his face. Is everything all right, Ms. Martinez? I took a deep breath. It seems there was a misunderstanding about the date. My family apparently came yesterday. His brow furrowed. Yesterday? But we weren't expecting your party yesterday. The reservation was always for tonight. Could you check if anyone from my family was here last night? Bradley left and returned a few minutes later with a maitre d', a woman named Vanessa. Ms. Martinez, Vanessa began. I was here last night. A group identifying themselves as the Martinez family did arrive around 7 p.m. They said there had been a change of plans, that you had approved moving the dinner to Thursday instead of Friday, and that you would be arriving shortly to handle the payment. And when I didn't show up? They said you had called to say you were running late, but had authorized them to begin without you, and to put everything on your credit card on file. Since you are a valued customer, we accommodated the request. The realization of what had happened washed over me in a wave of humiliation and anger. They had deliberately excluded me from the very dinner I had planned and paid for. With shaking hands, I opened my phone and navigated to my sister Monica's Instagram page. There they were, dozens of photos posted from last night. My family around the table I had arranged, enjoying the food I had selected, drinking the champagne I had ordered. There was Tyler blowing out candles on the custom cake. There was Dad raising a toast. There was Mom beaming at the professional photographer I had hired. Not a single mention of me. Not one acknowledgement that I had made it all possible. The caption under a family group photo read, "Amazing family dinner at the Silver Palm. So blessed to have everyone together. Hashtag family love, hashtag blessed, hashtag making memories." Everyone together? I wasn't there. I wasn't even missed. As I scrolled through the photos, something caught my eye that made my blood run cold. On my sister's left hand, clearly visible as she held up a champagne glass, was Grandma Eleanor's ring. My ring. The ring that had been specifically left to me, that was currently sitting in my jewelry box at home. Or so I had thought. A text message came through from my cousin Jessica, the only extended family member who had ever been kind to me. Natalie, I feel terrible about what happened. I didn't know they had deliberately given you the wrong date until I was already there. Your mom made it sound like you had an emergency business trip and couldn't make it. I should have reached out sooner, but it felt awkward. I'm so sorry. I replied immediately. Did Monica have Grandma's ring? There was a long pause before her response. Yes. She said you lent it to her for the evening since it matched her outfit. I had done no such thing. Another text from Jessica arrived. I saved this from the family group chat yesterday. I think you should see it. She sent a screenshot of a conversation between my mother, Monica, and Tyler. Mom, make sure no one mentions the date change to Natalie. As far as she knows, the dinner is still on Friday. Monica, she's going to be furious when she finds out. Mom, by then it will be too late. She's gotten too full of herself with all her money and success. Time she remembers she's not as special as she thinks. Tyler, is this really necessary? She's paying for everything. Mom, exactly. The cash cow doesn't need to be at the party to foot the bill. Besides, she has the ring that should have been Monica's. This evens the score a bit. I felt physically ill reading the exchange. Not only had they deliberately excluded me, but they had also planned it as some sort of twisted punishment for having received Grandma's ring, a bequest I had never asked for or expected. With growing dread, I pulled up my credit card app on my phone. The charge from the Silver Palm was there, $4,875 for last night's dinner. But there were other charges I didn't recognize. $1,200 from a high-end department store, $850 from an electronics retailer, $600 from a jewelry store. All from yesterday. I called the restaurant's billing department and requested an itemized receipt. When it arrived in my email minutes later, I saw that my family had added numerous items beyond what I had approved, three $300 bottles of champagne, expensive off-menu entrees, extra desserts, and a $500 celebration fee I had never discussed. As I sat in the empty dining room, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler. Thanks for the dinner, sis. Too bad you couldn't make it. By the way, Mom says since you couldn't come, she used your card to pick up a few things I needed for my apartment as an extended birthday gift. Hope that's cool. Attached was a photo of him posing with a large new television. Then another text arrived, this one from Monica. The dinner you missed was fabulous. Mom said since you were a no-show, we could use your credit card for a shopping spree as compensation for all the times you've been absent from family events. Fair is fair, right? Anyway, the kids send love to their generous aunt. My hands trembled as I received a final text, this one from a number I didn't recognize. Hey Natalie, you don't know me, but I'm Tyler's friend Kevin. He's showing off the free stuff you bought him and bragging about how the family fooled the cash cow again. Thought you should know your brother's kind of a jerk. I don't remember driving home from the Silver Palm. Somehow, I found myself sitting in my parked car outside my apartment building, tears streaming down my face, gasping for breath between sobs. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. It wasn't just about the money, though the unauthorized charges were significant. It was the calculated cruelty, the gleeful exclusion, the family conspiracy to humiliate me. For 20 minutes, I sat there, gripping the steering wheel, reliving not just tonight's betrayal but a lifetime of similar rejections. My 6th birthday, when I got school supplies while Monica received a bicycle and Tyler a mountain of toys. My high school graduation party that lasted exactly 45 minutes before my parents left to attend one of Tyler's baseball games. The college acceptance letter I proudly displayed on the refrigerator that mysteriously disappeared, replaced by Monica's graduate school brochure. Through my tears, I pulled out my phone and called the only person I knew would understand, Dr. Laura, my therapist of the past 3 years. Natalie, she answered, concern in her voice. It's late. Is everything okay? Between sobs, I recounted the evening's events, the deliberate exclusion, the credit card fraud, the hateful family chat messages. I feel so stupid, I concluded. After all these years, all the therapy, all the work I've done to build my self-worth, I fell right back into their trap. I wanted so badly to believe they could change, that they could see me as worthy of love. Dr. Laura's voice was gentle but firm. Natalie, this isn't your failure. Your hope for reconciliation came from a healthy place. They're the ones who abused that hope. What they did wasn't just emotionally abusive. The credit card fraud is actually criminal. Criminal, I repeated, the word hanging in the air. I never thought I'd be considering legal action against my own family. Before we go there, let's focus on you right now. You're experiencing a severe emotional shock. Are you safe to go inside? Is your friend Olivia available tonight? Olivia had been my best friend since college. She lived in the apartment next to mine and had been my emotional support through many family-related crises. I'll call her, I promised. Good. Take care of yourself tonight. We'll talk more tomorrow in our regular session, but call me if you need to before then. After ending the call with Dr. Laura, I texted Olivia, who immediately responded that she was coming down to my car. Minutes later, she slid into the passenger seat beside me, wearing pajamas and a concerned expression. What happened? She asked simply. I showed her the texts, the Instagram photos, the credit card charges. Her expression morphed from concern to outrage. Those absolute monsters, she whispered. Natalie, this is beyond dysfunctional family drama. This is theft and fraud. I know, I said, feeling strangely calm now. The initial shock was wearing off, leaving a cold clarity in its wake. But there's more. I need to check something at home. Together, we went up to my apartment. I headed straight for my bedroom, to the small jewelry box on my dresser where I kept Grandma Eleanor's ring. With shaking hands, I opened it. The ring was gone. I haven't worn it since the will reading, I said to Olivia. I haven't even taken it out of this box. Olivia frowned. Does anyone else have a key to your apartment? A sickening realization dawned on me. My mother. I gave her one for emergencies years ago, when I first moved in. I never thought to ask for it back. I checked my security camera app. I had installed a small camera in my living room after a break-in in the building last year. Scrolling back through the footage, I found it, my mother and Monica entering my apartment 2 days ago while I was at work. The footage clearly showed them heading directly to my bedroom, then leaving 20 minutes later, Monica examining something small in her hand as they walked out. "They stole it," I whispered. "They broke into my home and stole Grandma's ring." Olivia put her arm around me. "That's breaking and entering, Natalie. Add it to credit card fraud and identity theft." I sat heavily on my bed, the full weight of the situation crashing down on me. What am I supposed to do? They're my family. "No," Olivia said firmly. "They're people who share your DNA. That's not the same thing as family. Family doesn't steal from you. Family doesn't deliberately hurt you. Family doesn't exploit you." She was right, and deep down I knew it. For years, I had clung to the idea that blood connections mattered, that somehow my parents and siblings would eventually see me, value me, love me. But tonight had shattered that illusion completely. "I want to cut contact with all of them," I said. "Just walk away and never look back." "You could," Olivia agreed. "But that doesn't get your money back. Or your grandmother's ring." Something shifted inside me then. The hurt child desperate for approval began to recede, replaced by the confident businesswoman who had built a successful company from nothing. That woman wouldn't let anyone, family or not, steal from her and get away with it. "I need to check something else," I said, moving to my laptop. I logged into my credit card account and began a deeper investigation of the charges. Beyond the dinner and the purchases I'd already seen, I discovered more. Online orders shipped to my parents' address, subscription services started in my name, even a down payment on a vacation rental for a family trip scheduled for next month, a trip I hadn't been told about. The total unauthorized charges amounted to over $12,000. "This is calculated," I said, anger replacing shock. "This isn't just opportunistic spending. They planned this." As if to confirm my realization, a new email notification appeared, a receipt for a purchase made just 30 minutes ago. While I had been sitting devastated in my car, my sister had been using my credit card information to buy designer shoes online. Something broke inside me then. The last thread of familial loyalty, the final hope for reconciliation. In its place rose a cold, clear determination. "I'm not going to let them get away with this," I said to Olivia. "Not this time." By morning, my shock and grief had crystallized into focused resolve. I hadn't slept much, but I didn't feel tired. Adrenaline and righteous anger provided all the energy I needed. First, I called all my credit card companies to report fraud and freeze my accounts. The customer service representative at my main bank sounded alarmed by the pattern of charges. "Ms. Martinez, these transactions show clear signs of deliberate fraud. Have you contacted the police yet?" "That's my next call," I assured her. Next, I called my company's attorney, Daniel Thompson. Though he specialized in business law, I trusted his judgment and discretion. "Natalie, this is straightforward criminal activity," he said after I explained the situation. "The fact that it's family doesn't change the legal reality. Breaking and entering, credit card fraud, identity theft, these are serious offenses." "What should I do?" I asked. "Document everything," he advised. Screenshots of the text messages, copies of the credit card statements, the security footage from your apartment. Then file a police report. I can recommend a good criminal attorney if you decide to press charges. "Press charges against my own family," I said, the words feeling strange in my mouth. "Think of it this way," Daniel said gently. "If a stranger had stolen your credit card information, broken into your home, and stolen a family heirloom, would you hesitate to involve the police?" He was right. I was letting family ties cloud my judgment about what was clearly criminal behavior. For the next 3 hours, I meticulously documented everything. I created a timeline of events, starting with my mother's initial call about the family reunion, through all the planning communications, to the fraudulent dinner and subsequent unauthorized purchases. I saved screenshots of all text messages, emails, and social media posts. I downloaded and backed up the security footage showing my mother and sister entering my apartment and leaving with a ring. I printed bank statements showing all the fraudulent charges, including timestamps that proved purchases were made after I discovered the dinner deception. I even took screenshots of new Instagram posts showing my family members with items purchased using my credit card, Monica modeling her new designer shoes, Tyler playing games on his new television. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Tyler. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hello." "Nat, hey," he said, sounding surprisingly subdued. "Look, I'm calling about yesterday. Things got a little out of hand." "Out of hand?" I repeated. "You deliberately excluded me from a dinner I paid for, stole my grandmother's ring, and committed credit card fraud. That's not out of hand, Tyler. That's criminal." "Whoa. Criminal is a bit harsh," he said with a nervous laugh. "It was just a family joke that went too far. Mom thought it would be funny to teach you a lesson about missing family events." "I haven't missed family events, Tyler. I wasn't invited to them. And what about the unauthorized charges on my credit card? Was that a joke, too?" There was a pause before he responded. "Mom said you wouldn't mind. She said you're always bragging about how much money you make now, so you wouldn't even notice a few extra charges." "I mind very much," I said coldly. "And I want Grandma's ring returned immediately." Another pause. "Monica really likes that ring. Maybe you could let her keep it? I mean, she is the oldest granddaughter. It makes more sense for her to have it. That's not what Grandma wanted. Return the ring and repay all the unauthorized charges by the end of today, or there will be consequences." "Consequences?"
Come on, Nat.
"We're family. What are you going to do? Sue us?" His tone had shifted from conciliatory to challenging. "Worse," I said simply, and ended the call. 10 minutes later, my phone exploded with texts and calls from various family members. My mother left a voicemail saying I was being ridiculous and ungrateful for family bonding time. Monica sent a series of increasingly angry texts accusing me of being selfish and materialistic for caring more about money and an old ring than family harmony. Various aunts and uncles who had attended the dinner sent messages expressing confusion about why I was causing drama over a simple date misunderstanding. I ignored them all and continued my documentation process. At 2 p.m., I had my scheduled session with Dr. Laura. "You've moved from shock to action," she observed after I explained everything I'd done that morning. "How are you feeling emotionally?" I considered the question carefully. Surprisingly clear. Like I've finally accepted the truth about my family after decades of denial. There's sadness there, but also relief. Like I'm finally seeing reality, without the distortion of hope or wishful thinking. "That's significant progress," she said. "You're choosing to value yourself enough to set boundaries and demand respect. That's healthy, Natalie. Even if it means involving the police? Even then, their actions have consequences, regardless of their relationship to you. You're not responsible for protecting them from those consequences, especially when they've shown no remorse or willingness to make amends." By late afternoon, I had compiled a comprehensive file of evidence. Following Daniel's advice, I called the local police department and explained the situation. They asked me to come in to file a formal report. Detective Sandra Harris was assigned to my case, a no-nonsense woman in her 50s with kind eyes, but a firm demeanor. She reviewed my documentation with professional interest. "Ms. Martinez, you've provided exceptionally thorough evidence," she said. "Many fraud cases don't have this level of documentation. The text messages admitting to the fraud and the security footage of the breaking and entering make this quite straightforward." "What happens now?" I asked. "We'll investigate, but based on what you've shown me, there's more than enough for charges to be filed. The district attorney will make the final decision, but credit card fraud over $10,000 is a felony offense in this state. Breaking and entering to commit theft is also serious. Before we proceed, I need to ask, are you certain you want to press charges against your family members?" I took a deep breath.
Yes.
They need to understand that actions have consequences. Detective Harris nodded. "One more thing you should consider. Would you be willing to give them one final opportunity to return the property and repay the fraudulent charges before we proceed with formal charges? Sometimes the reality of police involvement is enough to prompt cooperation." It seemed fair to give them one last chance. When I returned home, I composed a careful email to my mother, father, sister, and brother. I have documented all the fraudulent charges made on my credit cards, totaling $12,347.86. I also have security footage of Mom and Monica entering my apartment without permission and taking Grandma Eleanor's ring. I have filed a police report with Detective Sandra Harris at the Central Precinct. However, I am willing to withdraw the report under the following conditions. 1. All fraudulent charges are repaid in full within 48 hours. 2. Grandma's ring is returned immediately and undamaged. 3. Written apologies from each of you acknowledging what you did. If these conditions are not met, I will proceed with pressing charges for credit card fraud, identity theft, and breaking and entering. This is not a negotiation or a threat. It is your one opportunity to avoid criminal charges. The choice is yours. I sent the email, then turned off my phone. Whatever happened next, I had done all I could to be fair, while still standing up for myself. The next morning, I turned my phone back on to find a flood of messages. Most were angry, defensive, or manipulative. My mother claimed I was tearing the family apart over a misunderstanding. Monica accused me of always being dramatic for attention, and various relatives urged me to let it go for the sake of family peace. Only Tyler's message showed any sign of understanding the gravity of the situation. Natalie, I didn't realize how serious this had gotten. I've paid back the cost of the TV and games I got. I'm sorry for my part in this. I appreciated his partial attempt at making amends, but it wasn't enough. The total repayment was still thousands short. The ring hadn't been returned, and there were no genuine apologies. At 9:30 a.m., Detective Harris called me. Ms. Martinez, I wanted to let you know that we're proceeding with the investigation. We'll be visiting your family members today to take statements. Sometimes the reality of officers at the door makes the situation clear in a way that words can't. I understand, I said. Thank you for keeping me informed. Just after 10 a.m., I drove to a coffee shop across the street from my parents' house. I didn't want to confront them directly, but I wanted to witness what happened next. From my distant vantage point, I saw the police cruiser pull up at 10:45 a.m. Two officers approached the front door and knocked. My father answered, his expression changing from confusion to alarm as they spoke. He called my mother to the door, whose hand flew to her mouth in shock. For 30 minutes, the officers remained inside. I saw various family members through the windows, my mother gesticulating wildly, my father sitting with his head in his hands, Monica pacing back and forth. When the officers finally left, the house seemed unnaturally still. Detective Harris called me an hour later. Your family seemed surprised that you actually involved the police. Your mother insisted it was all a family misunderstanding and claimed you had given permission for the credit card usage as a gift. However, the text messages you provided clearly contradict that claim. Your sister initially denied taking the ring but changed her story when we mentioned the security footage. She's agreed to return it today. Thank you, I said, feeling a complex mix of vindication and sadness. What happens now? We've given them 24 hours to return the property and provide proof of repayment for the fraudulent charges. If they comply, the district attorney may consider reduced charges or a diversion program, especially for first-time offenders. If they don't comply, arrest warrants will be issued. I thanked her and ended the call, then drove home to wait. The ball was in my family's court now. The calls started almost immediately. My mother's voice was tearful on the voicemail. Natalie, how could you do this to us? We're your family. The police said we could go to jail. Is that what you want? Your own mother in prison? Please call them off. We'll figure out the money somehow. Not a word about returning the ring. Not a hint of genuine remorse for what they'd done. Just fear of consequences and an expectation that I would rescue them, as I always had. Monica's message was different, angry and threatening. You've really done it now. You think you're so perfect with your fancy business and your money. Well, when this is over, you'll have no family left. Hope you're happy being rich and alone. My father typically said little. Natalie, this has gone too far. Call me. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I called Daniel, who had recommended a criminal attorney named Rachel Weiss. I briefed Rachel on the situation and retained her services to represent my interests in the case. Based on what you've told me, Rachel said, the evidence is overwhelming. Your family's best option is to make full restitution and hope for leniency. If they fight this, they're likely to face significant legal consequences. Around 4 p.m., my doorbell rang. To my surprise, it was my brother Tyler, looking uncomfortable and holding a small velvet box. Can I come in? He asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside to let him enter, leaving the door wide open. Monica gave me this to bring to you, he said, handing me the box. Inside was Grandma Eleanor's ring, thankfully undamaged. Thank you for returning it, I said formally. Tyler shifted his weight from foot to foot. Natalie, everything's a mess. Mom and Dad are freaking out about possibly going to jail. Monica's furious. Everyone's arguing about who should pay what. The solution is simple, I said. Return the money, apologize sincerely, and respect my boundaries going forward. The money part is complicated, Tyler admitted. Most of what they spend is gone. Mom and Dad don't have much savings, and Monica already wore some of the clothes she bought. That's not my problem, I said, surprising myself with my firmness. They made adult choices to commit fraud. Now they can face adult consequences. Tyler looked at me with new respect. You've changed. I've stopped accepting mistreatment. I corrected him. There's a difference. After Tyler left, I received an email from my mother with a repayment plan. They were offering to pay back the fraudulent charges over 18 months. It wasn't what I'd asked for, but it was an acknowledgement of the debt at least. I forwarded the email to Rachel, who advised me to counter with a more structured agreement, including consequences for missed payments. If they're serious about making amends, they'll sign a legally binding repayment agreement, she said. 2 days later, my parents and Monica met with me and Rachel at her office. The atmosphere was tense, with my mother barely able to look at me and Monica glaring openly. My father seemed defeated, the bluster gone from his usual demeanor. Rachel presented the formalized repayment agreement, which included a confession of the fraud, a strict monthly payment schedule, and a stipulation that any missed payment would result in the immediate filing of criminal charges. This is extortion, Monica snapped. Rachel's smile was cold. No, Ms. Martinez. Extortion would be demanding payment under false pretenses. This is a legal alternative to your immediate prosecution for well-documented crimes. The distinction is important. After much discussion, sighing, and a few tears from my mother, they signed the agreement. Not because they were truly remorseful, I realized, but because they feared the consequences more than they valued honesty or family bonds. As we prepared to leave, my mother touched my arm. Natalie, once this is all paid back, we can put this unfortunate incident behind us and be a family again, right? I looked at her, really looked at her, perhaps for the first time. I saw not the idealized mother I had spent decades trying to please, but a deeply flawed woman who had consistently chosen to mistreat her middle child, who had encouraged her other children to do the same, and who even now was more concerned with appearances than with the harm she had caused. No, Mom, I said gently. I don't think we can. You had a lifetime of opportunities to treat me with basic respect and kindness. I gave you countless chances. This isn't about the money or even the ring. It's about a pattern of behavior that has shown me exactly where I stand with you. I deserve better. The meeting concluded shortly after. As they left, I noticed my father looking back at me with what might have been regret in his eyes. Too little, too late. That afternoon, I received a surprising call from the district attorney's office. Despite the repayment agreement, they were interested in pursuing charges for the breaking and entering aspect of the case. The unauthorized entry into your home to steal property is a separate offense from the credit card fraud, the assistant DA explained. Even with restitution for the financial damages, there should be consequences for that violation. I thought about it carefully before responding. I appreciate your thoroughness, but if they comply fully with the repayment agreement, I'm satisfied with that resolution. I wanted accountability, not vengeance. Understood, Ms. Martinez. We'll follow your wishes in this matter, but if they violate the agreement, we'll revisit the full range of charges. As I ended the call, I felt a weight lifting. For the first time in my life, I had stood up to my family's mistreatment and refused to accept their excuses or manipulation. The outcome wasn't perfect, and the relationship damage was likely permanent, but I had finally advocated for myself with the same fierce determination I brought to every other aspect of my life. 6 months passed. True to my expectations, my family made the minimum required payments on the restitution agreement, always exactly on the due date, never a dollar more than required. There were no additional messages of apology or attempts at genuine reconciliation. Just cold, mechanical compliance with the legal requirements to avoid prosecution. I was surprised to find I was at peace with this outcome. Through weekly sessions with Dr. Laura, I worked through the complex grief of losing the fantasy of a loving family I had clung to for so long. It's like mourning someone who never actually existed, I explained during one session. I'm grieving the mother I wished I had, not the mother I actually had. That's profound insight, Natalie, Dr. Laura noted. Many people spend their entire lives chasing approval from parents who are incapable of giving it. I wasted too many years doing exactly that, I admitted. But not anymore. As my emotional healing progressed, I channeled my energy into building what Dr. Laura called my chosen family, the network of friends and supportive people who had demonstrated genuine care for me. Olivia remained my rock, joining me for weekly dinner dates where we talked about everything and nothing. My assistant Gabriella, who had been with me since the early days of my company, became a close friend outside of work. I even started dating again, cautiously opening myself to the possibility of creating my own family someday. Professionally, the experience inspired me to establish the Financial Empowerment Foundation, a nonprofit organization providing resources and support for individuals experiencing financial abuse from family members. The foundation offered legal guidance, therapy resources, and emergency grants for people trying to establish financial independence from toxic relationships. What had begun as my personal nightmare became a source of help and hope for others. 4 months into our separation, my brother Tyler reached out with a handwritten letter, not asking for money or favors, but expressing genuine remorse for his role in the family's treatment of me. I was the baby, the protected one, he wrote. I never had to work for anything because you and Monica cleared all the paths for me. It made me entitled and selfish. I didn't see how unfairly you were treated because it benefited me. I'm sorry, Natalie. Not because I got caught, but because I'm finally seeing clearly what our family dynamic has been all these years. I appreciated his insight, but remained cautious. Words were easy. Consistent behavior over time would be the true test of his sincerity. I responded with a brief note thanking him for his reflection and suggesting we might meet for coffee sometime in the future, a small door left slightly ajar. As for the rest of my family, the distance remained. My mother tried calling on my birthday, leaving a voicemail that managed to be both guilt-inducing and self-pitying simultaneously. I didn't return the call. Monica blocked me on all social media platforms, apparently telling anyone who would listen that I had chosen money over family. My father remained his usual passive self, sending a generic Christmas card signed only with his name. I was grocery shopping one Tuesday evening when I literally bumped carts with my mother in the produce section. For a moment, we both froze, equally startled by the unexpected encounter. Natalie, she said, her voice tentative. You look well. Thanks, I replied. You too. An awkward silence fell between us. She glanced at my cart, which contained ingredients for the dinner party I was hosting that weekend for friends. Having people over? She asked, a hint of her old prying curiosity in her tone. Yes, I said simply, not elaborating. She nodded, then seemed to gather herself. Your father and I have been making the payments. Every month, on time. I know. Thank you for honoring the agreement. Another silence. I could see her struggling, wanting me to make it easier for her, to offer reconciliation without her having to acknowledge the decades of hurt she had caused. In the past, I would have done exactly that. Smoothed things over, accepted crumbs of attention, anything to maintain the illusion of family harmony. Not anymore. I should finish my shopping, I said politely. Take care, Mom. As I turned my cart to leave, she called after me. Natalie, how long are you going to punish us? When will it be enough? I turned back, meeting her gaze directly. This isn't punishment, Mom. It's protection. I'm not refusing contact to hurt you. I'm maintaining distance to protect myself from further hurt. There's a difference. I left her standing there, her mouth slightly open in surprise. For perhaps the first time in her life, she was seeing me not as the forgotten middle child desperate for approval, but as a strong, self-assured woman who had finally learned to value herself. That evening, I sat on my balcony watching the sunset, Grandma Eleanor's ring on my finger, reflecting on how far I'd come. The journey hadn't been easy, and there had been moments of intense pain and doubt. But I had emerged stronger, clearer, and more authentically myself than ever before. The truth I had finally embraced was simple but profound. My worth was never dependent on my family's validation. I had spent decades trying to earn love that should have been freely given. In the end, I hadn't failed my family, they had failed me. And recognizing that truth, painful as it was, had finally set me free. I no longer needed to be the good daughter, or the generous sister, or the reliable checkbook. I could simply be Natalie, successful businesswoman, loyal friend, creator of my own destiny. The little girl desperate for her parents' approval had finally grown up and realized she had been worthy all along. If my story resonates with you, please share it in the comments. Have you ever had to stand up to family members who took advantage of you? Did you find the courage to set boundaries, even when it was painful? Like this video if you believe in the power of standing up for yourself. Subscribe for more stories about overcoming family challenges, and share with someone who might need to hear that it's okay to choose their own well-being over toxic family dynamics. Remember, sometimes the most loving thing you can do for yourself and others is to draw a line and say no more. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you strength on yours.